Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds here, back again this week talking Dynasty Fantasy Football entering Week 8. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about some injuries, or we're going to re-rank the rookies, wide receivers, running backs. Is Jamar Chase the number one overall Dynasty Fantasy Football player?
Is Najee Harris the number one running back?
Nope, it's Javonte Williams.
That kind of craziness and so much more.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, here with my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And Garrett Price.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going swell. We enter Week 8 here. We're pretty much halfway through the football season. We got that little extra week. So about what week is it?
We are halfway.
So. Yeah, well, it's Week 8.
Halfway through the regular season.
Divided by 17, carry the 2.
Carry the 2.
Minus the 1 for the 1 week off.
Okay.
And, 14 regular season games, played 7. So
Okay.
It's about halfway.
How do the preseasons factor into that?
Just doesn't do anything.
No,
Okay.
they're worthless.
So we're here.
All right.
It's exciting. It's so much fun, because it goes by so quickly. We'll be talking rookies in no time.
In no time.
So as we enter Week 8, we got some things to talk about here. We got some rookies to redraft because kind of a better feel now that we're halfway through. But what we feel about these rookies, we'll talk about some rookies redraft to wide receivers, redraft to running backs. Garrett has a game here for us. Not really a game, but a conversation piece called Buy or Cry.
Yeah, a little clever there.
Yeah,
Play on words.
It's a good rhyme.
Bye.
I'm a Dr. Seuss fan.
There you go.
Keep it close. What's that? That's not a rhyme.
No.
But it's a great song.
Same word over and over.
Ted
again.
Lasso. Do you remember in Ted Lasso when he had him choreograph the...
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
that was enjoyable.
It was okay. It was my favorite part of the show.
I haven't seen Ted Lasso.
You haven't?
No.
It's good.
My Apple Plus ran out right when that was becoming popular and I missed it.
Apple minus.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did.
okay.
I was like, nope, not paying for it.
Well, we got some things to talk about here. But before we do, let's talk about Thrive Fantasy. You can come up, prop up on Thrive Fantasy this football season. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus on only the top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Choose 10 out of the 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based on how likely it is to hit. Hit the most props and rack up the most points to win a share of the prize pool. This week and this week only, Thrive is increasing the payouts in the prop lobby. That's right. If you pick 2 out of 2 players correctly and win 4 times your entry amount. If you pick 3 out of 3 players correctly, you win 7 times your entry amount. And you pick 4 out of 4 players correctly, you can win 12 times your entry of $10 entry wins $120. It's a pretty good deal. I'm going to have to check that out this week because I need to.
Yeah.
Hot
You
losing
need
streak
to
continues here at Thrive.
make up, don't you?
Yeah, and then you can't remember, you get 100% deposit on Thrive up to $100. It means you put up $100, they're going to give you, your account's going to have $200 in it right when you stop.
Ballin'.
And right now, to get that 100% match and all this great bonus stuff, you got to use the promo code NERDS. That's right. NERDS is the promo code. Go to thrivefantasy.com, download the app on the App Store or the Play Store, and basically, again, you just pick 10 players out of the 20 they provide. Is Pat Mahomes going to have more than 1 interception? Over under. I'm taking the over.
At this pace, you kind of have to.
Is Pat Mahomes going to have 1 or more touchdowns? I might take the under. I don't know.
No, you're
I don't know.
taking the over.
How did you do last week, Garrett?
That's true. I should base it on only that 1 week.
Only that 1 week.
That's the best way to play fantasy.
and
I
not
live in the
3
moment.
years before that.
Yeah. Live and die in the moment. There you go. Thrive Fantasy promo code NERDS. Now, we do have, before we talk about some injuries, let's talk about some good news.
Yeah.
We asked you guys last week if you could leave us a rating review on a podcast, give us a little bump. We haven't asked in a while, and multiple people replied there. Appreciate you.
Did you say ask or no?
Excuse me.
I don't know. I don't know what I say.
May I ask you
just
some
talk.
questions?
I have 5 sentences in my head at one time, and I just try to pick one and get them out as quick as possible. But we appreciate that. We're actually 1 review away from like an even number. It's like 1,400 reviews or something like that. So if one more person wants to go out there and do it, we'd appreciate it.
Do it. You
But
won't.
we promised that we would get you guys a T-shirt winner. So with the following people, please direct message at Dynasty Price your
right.
shirt size and your address, and I will send over shirts to at Plum Jeremy, Plum like the fruit, Purple Fruit, Plum, Jeremy, and at Edward V. Grant. Those are our t-shirt winners this week.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. That felt good.
Sound
you know
effects.
what? What's one thing we don't do? We don't give enough swag out on the show.
We really don't.
literally offer the most comfortable Dynasty shirt in the world with our tri-blend here.
We really do.
And we don't give those away enough. We should probably do that at least once a month.
Yeah,
I agree.
Maybe
should
throw
do-
some of these vinyl stickers in there too. Just
Oh, yeah. The stickers are awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys are getting stickers too. I tell you what.
Guaranteed.
If you buy a shirt in the next... for the rest of the year.
And the next forever.
in the next.
We got some really cool Dynasty Nerds vinyl stickers that you can put on, like the ones that last forever. I'll throw those in the shirt bag for free.
They're awesome. They're right here.
Yeah, it's like a $3 value. Check out YouTube.
that's
Look at
one-
that.
That's
That's
like
one
a
of-
$3 value.
That's one of the
$3?
Yep.
Dude, if 100 people buy shirts, that's $300.
You're thinking of it from our perspective, not from their perspective.
Listen, Garrett,
Stickers
I don't
are
know.
cool.
I don't know how much money you think people get paid out here in the Dynasty game, but $300 goes a long way.
But I'm saying
you
incentivizing a $3 value for them is not like, woo, now I want it.
Well, no, that's $3 they're saving, but they're getting a lifetime of stickiness.
Yep.
I mean, what?
Of course, a lifetime of stickiness is what everyone wants.
Dude, who does it?
What else could you want?
Yeah.
I can't think of
Bukkake
many
stickers.
things.
You know what I mean?
Jeez, oh, man.
Just flooded over there. Dude, if I didn't shed skin, I'd stick that right on my chest.
But alas, you do.
Hey,
And that would be wasting a lifetime of stickiness.
somebody's got a Dynasty Nerds tattoo. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, I wish I remember their name. I'd shout them out right now.
They
Whoever you are.
should get
shout
a
out.
T-shirt. If you're listening, message us. We'll send you a T-shirt.
I think they have a shirt. But if you don't,
We'll
if
send
you are
you
listening,
another shirt and a lifetime of stickiness.
DM me that. I'll send you a sticker and a shirt for free. I think I did send him a shirt, but he's got a Dynasty Nerds shirt. I
He
need.
probably needs another one.
If I wasn't 42, I would get a Dynasty Nerds tattoo. But like for the last 7 years or 8 years, I'm like, I'm gonna get like more tattoos. 'Cause I got a couple again, and I was like, I'm 42. What's the point? My life's almost
I'm
already
gonna
over.
die anyway.
I'm with you there, man. That's-
Stretch the skin out, Grandpa. That's a Dynasty Nerd. It's like, you're a loser. Like, I know. Tell me what I don't know, grandson.
That tattoo made me dozens of dollars. What are you talking about?
$300. Woo. Man, let's talk about some injuries, shall we? Besides
do
my injured ego here now.
Injuries.
Injury news.
We have new drops, by the way, too. You just tune in for them nonstop. They're just going to keep coming hot and heavy. Shouldn't we say injuries? Like, ow! Ow! My knee! My favorite's the one that Howard Stern used to
broke
always play.
everything.
The girl that fell in the grapes. It's like, I can't. Yeah, I wish I could play that one.
That was a good one.
Allstate commercial drop.
So,
Wait.
What else they won?
it's not
Protect you from
Allstate.
mayhem.
Yeah,
Like me.
Mayhem.
Is that Allstate?
No.
Damn it.
Don't know.
It might be. That might be.
I just think of Boondock Saints every time I see that commercial.
Injuries.
There you go.
There we go. And we're back.
All right. Hopefully you're still with us. We're talking injuries. Devontae Adams, he's got COVID, so he's going to miss out on this Thursday game. Not looking very good for him. Alan Lazard,
Also,
he got
just
hit with the
got
COVID too, so they're going to bring Marquez Valdez-Scantling up. They have Randall Cobb for this week, so that's a good player to get in your lineup
Amari
as well.
Rodgers.
Amari Rodgers, I don't expect a whole lot out of him. I expect Aaron Jones to kind of step up there in the passing game, and of course, Bobby Tunyon.
I was gonna say we might actually see Bobby Tunyon get some targets.
He had a touchdown last week.
I know.
15 points.
But he's been disappointing to this
Very
point.
much so.
For my standards, I thought he was going to be really getting some more targets.
Oh, he's not the only tight end that's been disappointing. We're going to talk about another one later. There's a lot of people that have been disappointed this year. And then a lot of people have been appointed.
Oh, wait.
Appointing?
Yeah.
It's the opposite of disappointing.
Appointing.
That makes sense. You know, I always wondered about being overwhelmed and underwhelmed, but you cannot be whelmed.
You can't be whelmed.
Like,
I could be whelmed.
that's not a word.
Well, but I can be there.
I've told lots of people in my lifetime that I'm whelmed, and they look at me weird, but
Yeah. Doesn't go over well, huh?
not as well as you would hope.
Yeah, how can you be disappointed but then not be like appointed?
I mean, you can be appointed. I just think it has a very different meaning.
Look at
You've been appointed to this position.
Exactly.
look at my
You've
son
been
over there.
You've been disappointed.
So appointed him.
Get out of here.
I'm so appointed in you too. So great. So proud. Yeah, so let's look out for that Green Bay situation. I mean, obviously, I think Randall Cobb is a good play for this week. And then Aaron Jones probably going to get a boost, and Bobby Tunyon should own the middle.
It will be interesting because they're going to need to score a lot of points going against the Arizona Cardinals. So traditionally it's like, Devontae, I still expect them to score points. I'm just very curious if it is going to be more through Aaron Rodgers throwing the football or if they really will lean heavily on their running game.
Okay, say my name is changed from Rich Dotson to Thrive Fantasy.
Okay.
And I say the over-under 9.5 receptions for Aaron Jones. Are you taking the over or the under?
I think I still got to take the under. That's a lot.
It's a
That
lot.
is an awful.
Okay.
Alvin Kamara.
I might have taken the over
workload.
if it was like 6.
Okay, 7 receptions, over or under. I'm taking the over.
I'm taking the under.
Dude, a lot of little screens there. Chandler Jones coming off the edge. J.J. Watt coming off the
I
edge. Little bumpy dumpy.
I might take the over.
Bumpy dumpy.
If it was like 6.5, 7's weird because I could see him getting exactly 7.
Because then if you take the over,
Right.
he's got to get 8.
He's got to get 8 now.
Yeah. 8. I think I'm taking the over. So whatever that prop bet is.
Is there a
take the over.
push?
It's 7.
No. Are you allowed to push though? Like
Only if you push it real good.
push it.
Miles Sanders, he's got an ankle sprain. He's going to be week to week. Not so bad, they say. It's not a
Correct.
bad ankle sprain. It's a very mild ankle sprain. It's a little boo-boo there.
So maybe a low ankle sprain. Those high ones are the ones that kind of take a little bit longer.
little bit
usually.
longer, yeah.
Yep.
So guess who's going to dominate this week?
Boston Scott.
Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard most likely be elevated from the practice squad to sit on the sideline and root on Kenneth Gainwell.
Yep.
KG going to come in, had a nice touchdown this week. I have Miles Sanders and Scott Fishbowl. So when Kenneth
Scott
Gainwell went,
Fishbubble.
yeah, double letters. When he went in there and scored a touchdown, I was a little disappointed. But we've been talking about Kenneth Gainwell multiple times
Yeah,
on the
man.
show. He's looked pretty good. Looked like he has a chance to be a big factor there for the future of the Eagles. But it looks like this is a good opportunity this week to see exactly what you have in Kenneth Gainwell.
Right.
With like no Miles Sanders in a way and how they're going to use him and like lean on him.
I hope so because that's been the weird part is they have not run the ball a lot in general. And I could see something really dumb like Boston Scott and Jordan Howard getting 50% of the work and then Kenneth Gainwell only getting the other 50%. Like
I could totally see his role not changing.
Right. So
and then those other two guys.
I
are picking
hope
up
we
the slack.
see 20 touches from Kenneth Gainwell. Like that's what I want to see from him. We'll see if it actually happens.
We'll see if the coaching staff sees him as a less is more type of back.
Right.
A la just stays in the same sort of mold that he's in. Or if they actually see him as a guy
hope.
that can, run between the tackles a little bit and get more usage.
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I meant. Like we'll see if he has like a main. If this is what we have. Is he Naheem Hines? You know what I mean? Like if this is his role. Is he like a J.D. McKissick? Is that where we're at, or does he have an opportunity? Could he handle a larger
bit more.
workload? That's what I'm looking for this game the most. Josh Jacobs has a chest injury, not considered too serious, and likely to play after the bye week, which is this week for him. So he's okay there. Zach Wilson, on the other hand, not so good. He has MCL sprain, likely to go to IR. He says knee felt a little loosey-goosey in a caboosey. So he's going to be out there for a little while, which not like he's lining up. Not like any of these rookie quarterbacks are lining up.
No, they're not. I mean, I think the best one right now is Mac Jones, right? I mean, and he's
just okay.
From a fantasy standpoint, he's not doing like amazing or anything.
But from an NFL standpoint, he's doing the best. Everybody,
Right.
Trevor Lawrence, doing okay.
He's been looking better.
He's been the second best,
He's
probably.
looking better, but not like great. Justin Fields looking like he did at Ohio State under pressure. Not
Justin
too
Fields
glorious.
looks bad. This is the reason. This is like the worst case scenario that I saw possible for him when I looked at the tape.
It's tough because I agree he's looked really bad, but when you look at like the time, the protection, the play con, like none of it's been good. So it's not like other things have been going well and he's just performing poorly. It's everything is really bad.
We'll see this week though, right? Matt Nagy has COVID and he might not be able to coach.
That'd be hilarious if he just balled out this week.
That would be amazing. And hilarious.
You think the owner got somebody who had COVID and had him go cough on Nagy? Like I gotta see what we're already.
I just want to know.
Yeah, he gave up his play calling duties a few weeks though.
He did,
but he's still probably heavily involved in that game plan.
Yeah, he's audible and he's like, let's go left, right, YY 45. That's a real play.
That's definitely a real play.
direct quote.
He's like audible Omaha.
What? No wonder why he's so confused back there.
YY double fly. What is that?
Is Dr. Seuss calling this place?
Put that in my drink, and me and you gonna be seeing each other later naked.
That's Spanish fly.
gross.
That's Spanish fly. Not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Beastie Boys tell me all about that. But I would say this with all these quarterbacks, all quarterbacks need time. If there's any dip on any of these guys in a Superflex league, like I'm buying the dip, right? Like if I can get away out of my 22
For all of them,
picks,
Lance, Wilson,
all of them.
Fields, all of them.
Yeah, I mean Trey Lance. I mean, if I'm going to say they all need help, yeah, Trey Lance needs just as much help. I said when we scouted Trey Lance, like he needs at least 2 years before I'd even expect anything out of that kid, and that looks true. Justin Fields is going to need a full year, if not more, and more help around him. Zach Wilson's going to need more help around him. I mean, he's got pretty good help around him, but he's going to need more time. But right now, this 22 class looks for quarterbacks like
Pretty bleak.
Yeah, a pretty bare cabinet. So if you're looking for young talent, I mean, you're always looking for dips on young quarterbacks, right? And even if you got to pay fair market value, it's just they're too hard to get. And we've been so spoiled with these young quarterbacks coming in here lately in Superflex leagues. It's like there's been an abundance of them, and some of them pan out to be pretty swell. So for me, if there's any dip on Zach Wilson and Justin Fields over the next couple months, and I can get away from that, give up my 22 first and my 22 second alone in that matter, like I'm more than happy to do that because I don't even know how many first round picks are going to be in the class next year for 2022, but even the ones that are from what I'm hearing from my guys like you and Jared, like it's not very optimistic. For guys that aren't the guys that are highly rated now that aren't very accurate, that usually doesn't translate to the next level. Even though guys like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen most recently have gotten better from their accuracy issues in college, that usually does not get better in the pros.
They're definitely bucking the trend, I would say. But I mean, I agree with you. It sounds like next year's class is not all that good. So if there is a dip, go buy these rookies in particular. But what do we do with a guy like Sam Darnold, who started off hot? And really, the bottom has dropped off to the point where he got benched in the fourth quarter.
You mean the guy that we said was worth 3 firsts like 4 weeks ago? That guy?
That guy.
Yeah,
yes.
because we know exactly what we're talking about all the time.
I don't think we said 3, did we? Oh,
yeah, we did. Oh, we did. We did.
I don't think we said 3.
We did. In Superflex, we got him to 3 first round draft picks.
I know we said we were buying, but I don't think we said 3.
Hopefully no one checks that.
Somebody check it for us.
Somebody check that with us and don't tell us if we did go that far.
Well, you're screwed.
Lie to us.
I mean, dude, they benched him, which was fair. They said he's a quarterback for the rest of the season. Maybe could possibly turn around. Ian Rappaport, they're all coming out now saying that now the Panthers are trying to get in on Deshaun Watson.
That's what they meant when they said he's starting the rest of the year. Just it's for the Texans.
Which they should be, but like I don't think they have the assets to give up to get definitely to give up a second
not.
so to get Deshaun Watson. To me, I still think the Eagles are the dark horse that nobody's talking about. For me personally, I think even though Glazer said they're out, which means if Glazer says they're out, that means they're out.
But they're the ones that make the most sense with all the draft capital that they have.
Yeah, for sure. Like Miami should just hold on to Tua instead of giving all that draft capital, making your team.
I'm going to
worse.
be talking about Tua a little bit here in the future here.
Yeah, we will. Another injury, DME Brown.
Diami.
DME.
Diami.
No, I'm telling you, DM me the right name.
Diami. It's Diami.
Yeah, Diami Brown got a knee injury, thought to be minor, out through the bye week. We'll reassess after the bye. Now, rookies. Now, we talked about rookie quarterbacks.
Rookies.
Now, let's talk about some rookie running backs and wide receivers. If we had to redraft them all over, are we just doing this each by position, or are we going to rank them by position?
We can do it either way. However,
or overall. I think, you want to do position?
Yeah, let's just do it by position.
I think position's the cleanest way to do that.
Either of you guys want to delete on this?
Sure. Yeah. So far this season, we haven't had a ton of production from the rookie running backs. We've seen spot guys come in here and there, but it wasn't like last year where we had so many big names out there with Akers, Dobbins, JT, CEH, like Swift, all like there were so many guys that had prominent roles. We don't really have that this season. We have one guy that, as far as getting the opportunity, producing, like it's been there, and that's been Najee Harris. Najee Harris so far only playing 6 games, so he's behind some of the other guys that have played 7 games, and this is where it gets a little weird as far as the bye weeks and stuff go. But he's been averaging 20.2 points per game, currently RB5 overall on the year, and he's kind of just stood above the rest as far as overall production. Where would you guys, obviously, most people would have him at the top of the class. Where would you guys rank him as far as this class and then all of fantasy football running backs.
I moved Najee to my top 5. Me and Matt were talking about this on the way down. We went out of town and got a cabin this weekend, just him and I, a little romantic getaway.
Not true, but
you and I did not go spend the weekend in a cabin together?
we did spend a
Did we
weekend.
not drive down there together?
We did drive together. Yes,
Did we sleep in the same room?
we did actually. Yeah.
Okay, enough said.
Separate bunk beds with about 8 other guys.
It got real crazy.
Did that make it better or worse?
Better. It was guys' weekend.
But we were talking, and him and I both, we didn't know that we'd both done this. We talked about it on the show a little bit. Like, I totally revamped my Dynasty running back rankings, and I moved a lot of youth up front.
Sure.
I moved Jonathan Taylor up to number 1. I actually moved Derrick Henry up to number 2, which is,
Wow.
goodness gracious me, right? It's just, I think he's an outlier.
I don't even know what to think right
Yeah,
now.
me neither. I told you, no more slander. I had to pay respects.
I am shooketh.
I think I moved Najee Harris up the top. Like, I think I put Christian McCaffrey down to 3. Then I moved Najee Harris up to like 4 or 5. I moved or DeAndre Swift up to 3 or 4, and then Najee Harris. I moved all these guys up, these guys significantly. So that's where I feel about him overall, Najee. So obviously he's still my running back 1 here, pretty easily. You know, I really like what I've seen out of Javonte Williams. Like, I'm willing to admit I'll put Javonte ahead of Travis Etienne now. James Robinson.
There we are.
James Robinson has something to do with that as well.
Sure.
Move Etienne down
He's
a little bit
played
there.
so well.
But to me, it just comes down to Javonte looks good. Javonte,
He makes the most out of every single opportunity that he
does.
gets. He just doesn't get enough of them, unfortunately.
He's actually, just like he did in college, he's leading the NFL in forced missed tackles,
Yep.
which is incredible to do at this level and this early on so few opportunities, because he's a guy that you would think would get better with time, with rhythm, things like that. Najee, going back to Najee real quick, what he's done has definitely been very, very impressive. He's made the most of what he's been given. I'm still worried about some of the efficiency. I'm still worried about just the overall team in general. I think he's a very good player. I still don't know that he's special enough to be in my top 5 personally. But I understand why people would put him there. Anytime you have a guy in his rookie season that's putting up numbers like he is, that definitely warrants at least the conversation for it. So I don't knock anybody for doing it. I'm just not quite there yet with him.
well, you should be there because he's on a 5-year deal in Pittsburgh, who's about to get a new quarterback. I know Tomlin's come out, so he wants to get a veteran. But nonetheless, they're going to use Tomlin's not going anywhere, and they're going to use him the same exact way.
He made that very clear today. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
He's
That
going to
was
be a
hilarious.
bell cow running back. So, and that's fine that if he's not overly efficient. I mean, if you had Melvin Gordon on your team for the last 8 years, you've been doing pretty well in a dynasty value.
Which is funny because I compared him to Melvin Gordon the other day, and you hated that.
I'm just talking about a player that I'm saying if you're saying he's not a very efficient, I think he's pretty solid.
And I think that's part of the reason I think Roethlisberger and Rivers have good parallels, because they both check the ball down to their running backs a lot, and that's part of the equation as to why both of them were successful in the passing game so much early on. So I just don't know if there's a younger quarterback in there, a more athletic quarterback, that he'll be able to do as much because he won't have as many
But
opportunities.
he showed me what he could do with a very bad offensive line. He showed me that already. He showed me that he's very viable in the passing game.
But he hasn't done much with the bad offensive line.
Yeah, but he's still producing. He's still producing at a fantasy level. That's the thing.
Receiving the football.
They're going to have to rebuild his offensive line, so it's only going to get better. So he should get better
Sure.
after that. I mean, his offensive line is arguably the worst offensive line in all of football.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's that bad. So
It's bad.
you still have Javonte 1, right?
I do. I have him back to back, so he's literally right behind
Yeah.
him. I think it's like 7 and 6 or 7 and 8 or something like that.
I think Najee has shown me enough in the passing game. I wasn't sure he would be that I guess involved in the passing game, that I did bump him up above Javonte. But it's a fluid. Obviously, ranks are fluid.
For sure.
It's not going to sit there forever. I do think Javonte is a more talented back. He's just not getting the opportunity right now. And until he does, he's going to be behind Najee in my rankings.
Yeah, it's good to it's good in Dynasty to predict for the future, but you also sometimes people are like,
They're not far apart.
yeah,
Just-
they're in the
sure.
moment.
Yeah,
They're in the
so-
moment. Like everything's so fluid. Like we say in Dynasty all the time. Like I made this comment many times over the last 8 years about people going, "Oh, my team looks so good on paper. When this guy hits and this guy gets his opportunity, when Javonte finally gets to workload and this guy does this, and when he pans out here and they draft this guy, it's like my team's going to be unstoppable for
Right.
8 years straight." Never happens. Injuries occur. People fade out. People have a good year, then they have a bad year. People are good really 1 year, and then they're bad for the rest of their career. It happens all the time. So
And I had to come to that realization today. I have a true contender. It was already on the Dynasty GM. It was ranked as the number 1 team. Barely. It was very close. There were 2 teams right behind me, very close. And I have 4 2023 first. You know how much I love that class. I've been preaching that class. I had a need at tight end, and I could use a little more depth at receiver. Trade 2 of those first and Hunter Henry. Got myself Travis Kelce and Keenan Allen today. I didn't want to give up those, but now I'm far and away the favorite.
You're feeling good.
And it gives me an opportunity to win the ship. So you're right. You know, we look on paper and you're like, oh man, my team will be so good when. And sometimes you just got to make sure you win it now.
So on fantasydata.com, Javonte and Najee Harris are both at 0.82 fantasy points per opportunity. So that's a target or attempt. So they're both tied per opportunity.
They're pretty equal. And I like them both. Yeah, I think it's pretty fair. It's like, for my dynasty ranks, it's like, what can I get the most out of right now and the future? I mean, so it's like that one more year of Najee Harris just outweighs Javonte Williams. I mean, it's just that one more year I have that I'm getting, a top 5 fantasy football running back now. So if you draft Javonte 1, yeah, he might be good next year, which I expect him to be because he's looked really good. But I just missed a whole year of having a top 5 fantasy football running back now. And we know, how volatile this position is, that every year counts as a running back 1.
Absolutely.
So I think it's pretty set in stone that we both have Javonte and Najee 1 and 2. Me and Matt have Najee Javonte. You have Javonte Najee.
Yeah, and they're, like I said, they're back-to-back in my ranks.
So the big thing comes here is who's the third running back. And now let's be fair. We're talking about guys like Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard, Michael Carter, Elijah Mitchell, Khalil Herbert, Trey Sermon, Ramondre Stevenson, and Travis Etienne. These are the guys left. For me, it's still going to be Etienne. I love his tape. I love what he did. I love how productive he was at Clemson. I love the fact that he's a first-round pick in Jacksonville. I love the fact that him and Trevor Lawrence have a really good rapport, and there's not a lot of weapons out there in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. James Robinson looks good back-to-back years. That kind of hurts him a little bit. That's why we'll move him down, but they're still invested in him for a first-round pick. Even if Herb went, the GM's invested in Travis Etienne in the first-round pick. He's going to get an opportunity. So for me, he's still easily my third running back here.
Me too. I don't think any of these other guys have jumped out quite enough to pass him up at this point, even though he hasn't played a single down this year. So.
And none of them have a clear path to a major role. The only one potentially you could say would be Michael Carter, probably has the clearest path. But he still just hasn't taken advantage of that situation yet. He's had some good games,
right.
But he hasn't done any of those.
He's had some good fantasy games.
Right.
Who's that?
Michael Carter.
Michael Carter.
But he hasn't had that big breakout NFL game.
He hasn't.
But when we're talking about
even Elijah Mitchell, I think, has done more to kind of solidify himself.
I would agree with that.
But he's getting better, though. Michael Carter's getting better every single week.
But you wouldn't put Michael Carter ahead of Etienne, though, right?
No, I would not. But
Okay.
I would be closer to put him there. I had a stat on here on him because we'll be talking about Michael Carter next show.
Okay.
He's actually one of my dynasty buys.
Right.
So for me, he's somebody. The stats I have on here for him.
We'll
save it.
Yeah,
We'll save it for
absolutely,
the show.
absolutely save it for the Nerd Show.
So I think we're 3 for 3 on Travis Etienne would be third then in our rankings.
Definitely.
So would Michael Carter be fourth for you? Elijah Mitchell, Kenneth Gainwell, like who comes after that? Because it's kind of a big tier.
I think it is those 3 for sure. That's a hard one to break up. I mean, my initial reaction is Elijah Mitchell because he's played well. It looks like he's in the favor of the coaching staff there, but that could change literally in an instant.
Sure.
It feels like. So that makes me want to lean a different direction. I honestly don't love anything going on in Philadelphia enough to say Kenneth Gainwell can be this guy. So it is between, for me, Michael Carter and Elijah Mitchell. I think I'll probably go Elijah Mitchell as my fourth, just because I see higher upside there.
Yeah, so here's the way I feel about it. The upside there, Elijah Mitchell's played in 4 games, averaging 12.2 fantasy points per game. Trey Sermon's been just a complete wasteland behind there, been benched now. You're really getting a lot of carries and they trade up for him. He offers a lot of upside, like you said. He offers a lot of upside. I like Michael Carter. I like the way he's been used. He's slowly getting used a little bit more here. Very viable in the passing game. They're about to get Mekhi Becton back here a little bit more too. Kyle Shanahan's so iffy with that running back. You know what I mean? Like, it's so iffy.
That's what worries me the most about picking him.
And it worries me enough that I'd be willing to take. I would rank the next 3 here: Michael Carter, Elijah Mitchell, and then I would have Gainwell and Chuba Hubbard pretty close for me. And the reason I would have Chuba Hubbard kind of close is because Christian McCaffrey pretty hasn't much played football in 2 years. And, one thing you see in football when guys start to miss time like this amount of time, like consecutively, like it doesn't get better. Definitely at the running back position. Now, maybe Christian McCaffrey can get over this and be healthy forever.
Yeah,
but
absolutely could.
Right now, I mean, Chuba Hubbard's been pretty efficient. He's getting out there giving you close to double-digit fantasy points. Like, so, again, I'm talking about him as my 7th. What are we at here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th rookie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Out here. So I have him as my 7th rookie overall. So I'm not saying, oh, Chuba Hubbard's a man. But amongst what's left, like, he offers a clearer path to, like, opportunity. But we already talked about Gainwell in order, and I'm going to talk about Michael Carter a little bit more here after this.
Right.
But for me, I think it goes right now where I stand would be Najee, Javonte, Etienne, Michael Carter, Elijah Mitchell, Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard is how I would go down on them.
So you would go down on him. I'm
here to please.
I have the same top 3 as you, but then it would be Mitchell, Carter, and Gainwell, and to take it that one next step further, I think I would rather have Khalil Herbert over Chuba Hubbard. I think I've seen more out of him. I know that his opportunity might evaporate here when David Montgomery comes back, but same thing could happen with Chuba Hubbard. I just like what I see more out of Khalil Herbert. We'll put it that way.
I like what I see. I like everything I see in Khalil Herbert too. His explosiveness is. But when David Montgomery comes back, David Montgomery's looked really good this last year and a half. He's going to have to like split carries with David Montgomery.
I know. Well, same thing, Chuba Hubbard though. I mean, like,
which is fair.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said. I said clear path for Chuba.
No,
That's what I like Khalil Herbert a ton. I like his college tape. But for me, it's just. If McCaffrey's going to stay at this pace of getting hurt, like Hubbard's going to have a more clear path to opportunity with him, Deshaun Watson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, Robbie Anderson,
Deshaun Watson.
One guy we haven't touched on that I think is worth talking about is Ramondre Stevenson, and he's a difficult one because it's similar to Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon, where it all depends on Belichick's mood. It all depends on if he missed a blocking assignment or fumbled that game, where he's going to be. I mean, at the end of the Cowboys game, he was starting to look like he was really gaining some traction there. He had the touchdown. He had 3 receptions, but there was a late fumble. I think he recovered it, but there was a late fumble. And I was talking to a buddy that watches Cowboys games real closely, and he was talking about how he was like, he missed a couple blocking assignments there at the end. And then this past week, he wasn't active.
Not even active.
So, that's the tough part is, even though I do think he has some upside as well, it's just so difficult to trust. So Trey Sermon is, there's a chance that he could he's still rookie. I don't want to bury him yet, but he's basically at the level of Jarrett Patterson, Kylan Hill, all of these depth pieces with upside, but they're nothing more. Like I'm never giving up more than a third at best case scenario for any one of those guys at this point.
And I like Ramondre Stevenson. I had him and Khalil Herbert pretty equal. Those were the 2 backs outside the main ones I said had a good opportunity that got opportunity. From their college tape alone, I liked what they did on film. So after that, I mean, all these guys are pretty close, right? Like, I think the most surprising person here that you never would have guessed, definitely when he was going in the first round not too long ago, and I just like the comparison of like when everybody's drafting Jamal Williams, like why draft Jamal Williams or you just take Aaron Jones? Sure. That's the same thing about Trey Sermon. Even though sometimes people are like, oh, you're Ohio State homer, but that's not true. Like, why would you take Trey Sermon when you just draft Elijah Mitchell? He had just as good as tape. Out of all the guys we named here, Trey Sermon's probably last on the list.
Yep.
And he would have been third on this list.
4th at worst.
4 months ago?
Well, not third. He would have been 4th or 5th. Yeah.
4th or 5th.
We had the big.
Well, because of ETN. I kind of forgot about ETN. But yeah.
So 4th. He would have been 4th.
Yeah, 4th or 5th. But yeah, and that's we did talk about that a little bit where, don't take these running backs over these wide receivers. This is a very good wide receiver class. I know you need depth at your running back position, but don't reach for running backs when there are so many good wide receivers in that same range. And if you took Trey Sermon or even Michael Carter, who's been better, but there's a chance that you missed out on Rondale Moore, you missed out on Kadarius Toney, you missed out on Elijah Moore, you missed out on Rashad Bateman, you missed out on, and not all of those guys have played amazingly, but I would still rather have any one of those guys over Trey Sermon, and most of them over Michael Carter as well right now.
I was taking Michael Carter over Trey Sermon the whole time. I remember we talked about it in early in the year during the rookie draft for our long-term 18-year-old Dynasty League. I traded back into the first for a running back. Everybody's like, oh, Rich is trading up for Trey Sermon. I texted Matt, like, everyone thinks I'm taking Trey Sermon, but I'm taking a better running back. I'm taking Michael Carter here.
And you did trade right up above me, and I was like, yeah, I would totally take Michael Carter. And then I ended up getting Trey Sermon, which sucked. But
at the time, you probably weren't too upset.
I wasn't I wasn't broke up about it. I backed him up with Elijah Mitchell in like the 5th round.
Oh, so it worked out.
It worked out
even
fine.
better.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I was never. I actually don't have any shares except for I think I might have one Michael Carter, but I don't have shares of either one of those guys. I was always lower on those two. I was a big Gainwell guy, and that was kind of the guy that I hyped up, which. He's playing well, but it's still he's in Philly, so who knows?
He's in Philly. It's a dumpster fire. He wears number 14, so I just hate seeing it.
I've got some Michael Carter stats here too. He's my buy for the Nerd Herd episode. So obviously, if you don't listen to Nerd Herd, we do our buys and sells for the week. So obviously, I'll be talking about Michael Carter. If you want to turn in the episode, all you gotta do is join the Nerd Herd today.
Yeah, you do,
and you get not only the extra podcast, you get the Dynasty Nerds film room, which is going to become real come in handy as we
Can't
update
wait to film season.
75 games
season.
a week. On top of there, you get the rankings, the nerd score, and obviously you get the Dynasty GM, which is the greatest Dynasty tool in the world. So make sure you check that out. Now let's get in here, talk about some of these wide receivers real quick as we're 36 minutes in here. I think clearly the number one here, without a doubt, a guy who I moved up my ranking significantly. Somebody who none of us had as our wide receiver one. We all had Devontae Smith as our wide receiver one.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss on that because Jamar Chase is doing things that rookies have never done before. He's averaging 20.9 points per game. He's currently wide receiver 3 overall. That rapport with Joe Burrow is just really, that was, I mean,
got off to a slow start.
He's pretty talented.
Right? He got it in the preseason, but now it's clicking.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument made here, the fact that he's 21 years old. I wouldn't do it, but there's an argument to be made on the hype, the fact that Joe Burrow's there, and that connection is going there forever, that Jamar Chase is the Dynasty wide receiver 1 overall, and you can make a case to take Jamar Chase, honestly, number 1 overall in Dynasty. I'm not preaching this, but there's a case there. The kid's already wide receiver.
It's not
3.
crazy, no.
Nobody, all the other wide receivers are out there, right? Nobody's banged up. Nobody's hurt. We're starting to see some of these, the other veterans starting to get a little bit older, like DeAndre Hopkins, those mainstays, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill.
They're all 28, 29.
The new fresh batch is CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, then Jamar Chase. So don't
forget about my boy Terry.
And Terry McLaurin.
He's played really well.
He's played really well. But so if you look from that standpoint of a young group of wide receivers, right? So you eliminate the Tyreek Hills, Devontae Adams, those guys. Out of those guys, who would you say that you would significantly want over Jamar Chase? I mean,
nobody significantly, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I love CeeDee Lamb's tape more than I love Jamar Chase's college tape. I do. But he's still got Amari Cooper there. He's still got Zeke Elliott there, right? That's a lot to compete. He hasn't done a whole lot all year from a bona fide stud fantasy standpoint.
It's been a little hit and miss.
Justin Jefferson, the man, but his quarterback situation is going to be in flux here within, if not next year, within the next couple of years here. He'll probably have a new quarterback there. Calvin Ridley, same situation. Not doing what he's supposed to do when he was put front and center here with Matt Ryan to be the guy. Our number one concern
Kyle
for
Pitts
most people was.
Almost already looks like the more dominant player.
Yeah, so that was a concern. Terry McLaurin, who's his quarterback going to be? I think he's quarterback proof, obviously, from what he's done. But the case here then is obviously Jamar Chase, first round pick, not going anywhere. The Bengals re-sign their guys every time. Joe Burrow not going anywhere. This is a pairing, a duo that you're going to have for the next 10 years in Dynasty. And that is, when you get something like that laid out in front of you, if there's a player like Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown, with those mild uncertainties, right? Those mild uncertainties, that's where I get to the point that leads me up to Jamar Chase being the one because, all right, worst case, maybe he's like wide receiver 5, you know, a bump like that. Obviously, we've seen Calvin Ridley, way worse than that. There's a mild hiccup. Justin Jefferson's doing just fine. But there's, you know what I mean? Nobody else is dominating at this kind of level or this high up. Justin Jefferson was wide receiver 4 from week 3 on, going on in there. But, I mean, that's my case for Jamar Chase. It's like he looks so damn good already. If somebody took him 1-1, I'm almost talking myself into it. Like, if somebody took Jamar Chase 1-1 overall, I wouldn't be like, whoa, what are you doing there, Kemosabe? I'm okay with it. Because, again, when you do a startup draft with your first round pick, what are you looking for? You're looking for not only are you looking for a high point total, but you're looking for longevity.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamar Chase he's 21 years old. He gives you all of that. Like,
absolutely.
It's almost a can't miss pick. And it's what you can't do in the first round is take a Saquon Barkley and miss.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
and he's getting 2 points. He's getting 2 points higher than Justin Jefferson, over 2 points over CeeDee Lamb on a points per game basis. Obviously, you know, you're going to be getting down pretty far when you're looking at AJ Brown. He's had some pretty bad games.
He started off slow,
So he's separating himself a little bit and kind of putting himself on a pedestal, and he's obviously far, you know, exceeded everyone's expectations.
Absolutely.
Even if you had him as your number 1 wide receiver this year, he's blowing that out of the water. So he is, I think, in the conversation for the wide receiver 1. I mean, when you're talking wide receiver 1, you're talking almost 1-1 overall, because that is where you generally want to start your dynasty startup.
Clearly, the 1-1 for the last 2 years, even if you went in the startup this year, has been Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
Would you, if you had Jamar Chase right now on your dynasty team, say you have Jamar Chase, I approach you, hey, I'll give you Christian McCaffrey for Jamar Chase. What are you telling me?
Well, that's tough. I mean, obviously 3 weeks ago it's a slam dunk, but now everything's changed. You're right. Yep. Everything has changed.
If I approach you right now and you have Jamar Chase, and I'm like, I'm gonna give you Christian McCaffrey, would you take that trade? I would say no in a heartbeat.
I don't think it'd be a heartbeat for me, but I'd probably end up saying no.
Garrett?
It's so difficult.
This feels so wrong.
I know,
to
that's
just be
why
like,
it couldn't say it in a heartbeat.
Screw you, Christian McCaffrey.
It's not screw you. It's that doesn't mean screw you.
No. I know. But
you have to make this investment for your dynasty team. One's a running back. First of all,
are you going to have Randy Moss for the next 8 years?
I'm probably taking Jamar Chase, and honestly, it wasn't like we buried him. We had him as our wide receiver 2 in my nerd score over the past 2 years. He was my 3rd ranked receiver behind Smith and CeeDee Lamb. So it wasn't like we buried him, but obviously it was a miss on our part to not have him as the 1 overall. But you're right. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Right. But obviously I would have going back in time, I would have loved to have put him as my wide receiver 1. He's clearly that guy. I love the offense. I love the player. And yeah, I mean, I was wrestling with that this week, and where do I put him in my dynasty rankings? Because I could make, you made the argument for 1, and I think it's a legitimate argument. I wouldn't have any problem anywhere in the top 6 or so. I think is fine. But I really do need to think about it more this week and really compare him to all these other guys, because there's a very strong case that he could be the top overall guy.
Yeah, I got to move most significantly because I'm more just like talking out here, which is it's the best way to get value and it's just have conversations. It's why you listen to podcasts, right? It's like so you can talk things out, because sometimes as you're just talking about it just makes sense, right? Like same thing about the Christian McCaffrey thing. Like he's higher in my ranks, but like, dude, would I really want Christian McCaffrey over Jamar Chase? Would I want any running back over Jamar Chase? Honestly, I moved Jonathan Taylor to my 1-1 running back. I would rather have Jamar Chase than Jonathan Taylor. I just would, because it's a other running back position. I would just rather have him. I'd rather have Jamar Chase than Tyreek Hill, who's my dynasty wide receiver 1 before that. So to me, it comes down to like, who did I really have really high? To me, the young guys, it was CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. So do I rather have Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb? That's what it comes down to me for those guys. And so it's a tough call. So next wide receiver, we're obviously getting real good here on time. These conversations here. Wide receiver 2 for us, is it? We had Devontae Smith as number 1. Can he hang there as your number 2? Currently, as wide receiver 37, 11.2 points per game.
I still love the talent. I hate the situation. I'd love to see him with the mustache for a little bit and see what he could do. But Jalen Waddle has looked so explosive. He would be the guy that's obviously in my mind I'm jostling back and forth with Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith at this point. Devontae Smith is going to stay at number 2 for me. I mean, he should. I mean, I want to keep him at number 1. It just could not happen, so I can't put him below, I think, number 2.
He's still pretty confidently number 2 for me. Yes, there have been some games where, he's not produced amazingly well, but this is just an offense the entire offense is just struggling, unfortunately. But there have been a lot of moments where you see him do things, you see him run routes, you see him make plays, and you're like, oh man, that guy is there. And he's had some touchdowns called back as well, which has been really, really unfortunate because that's a good confidence booster for guys like him, is just getting those points, getting those touchdowns, making those big plays. So to see those be called back is always frustrating as well. I still think he is a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. I think his talent is there. It's easy over a 2 or 3 week period where things haven't gone amazingly well to get frustrated, to get nervous. We shouldn't even base that short of a time period on any player, but especially rookies. So even though I think Jamar Chase has shown enough to definitely be the top guy, I still believe a lot in Devonta Smith, and I still think he's a very talented wide receiver.
Yeah, I still love him. My top 3, and it was like my own tier. And I said before, I had Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and I was really big on Jalen Waddle this year. I remember when Jared texted me earlier, he's like, "Oh, if you love Henry Ruggs, you're going to love Jalen Waddle," and I loved him. I had him pretty high. I think I was the highest of us 3 on Jalen Waddle. I'm the same thing with Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith is actually probably a pretty, not a buy low because it's not like his price has dropped, but I think that price has dropped a little bit from where it was 4 months ago. Sure. And I'm buying that dip 100% because I think Jalen Hurts is holding him back. And I think once they get better up their quarterback situation, I think Devontae Smith has a very, very bright future. You mentioned explosiveness with Jalen Waddle. God forbid they get Deshaun Watson and Waddle together and they get pull the wool fuller and take the top off.
Honestly, Tua's played a lot better. He's looked good. Spoiler alert, he's my buy for the next episode. I'm going to talk about him.
He's looking, but he's not Deshaun Watson.
No, he's not Deshaun Watson.
That's all I mean by that.
But if I'm the Dolphins, I would rather keep Tua and all of those draft picks and build around him personally.
So those are our top 3. We have to get to our sponsors here real quick because we have a couple things. I don't know where we're at in time now, but we're getting deep into
46.
46. So we're almost at the end of the show. We haven't done our mid-show sponsors, but that's fine.
That's why I was like 36 earlier.
So we'll get it. So instead of the same time, because we have a couple guys that we do our buy or cry from Garrett here.
Yep.
How about this? How about we just for the rest of the 3, we won't go in depth about it strictly because we don't have time. If you want to talk about it, we're on Twitter. I'm at Dynasty Rich.
I'm at Dynasty Matt.
I'm at Dynasty Price.
We're there. You can communicate. We'll talk back. I'll give you my guys in order after those 3. I'm going Elijah Moore. I'm going Rashad Bateman. I'm going Terrace Marshall. I'm going Rondale Moore. I'm going, oh, God, Kadarius Toney looked pretty damn good in those games. Back it up. I'm going Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman.
Do it.
Kadarius Toney.
Yes, that's mine. All right.
Kadarius Toney. He looked too damn good in that limited time frame. I want to see how he does with everybody else, but I really like the routes he was running. Terrace Marshall, Rondale Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Couldn't have done it better myself, sir. Exact same list. Continue.
All right, well, you guys are boring. For me, after that, then it's going to be Rashad Bateman first, then Elijah Moore. I really loved Bateman's tape. He's looking like that guy, even coming off the injury.
Close.
Those two are very close.
But yeah, I do love Moore. It's been tough. He's been getting open, just not getting the ball as much. So that's been tough.
He made a touchdown last week on a handoff, and he ran really well through the traffic. He looked really good.
Yeah, he's a talented player.
Yep.
So Bateman and Moore. So I have those flipped. I would be going.
Come on, Toney looked really good.
I'm probably going Toney then Moore. So I have Moore a spot higher than Marshall, and then I might have Amon-Ra over Marshall. I haven't been impressed with Marshall overall so far, and I don't know if you guys have seen it as much as I have, but all of a sudden I've been seeing Prediction Strike all over the place. These guys are blowing up. I'm seeing ads for them everywhere. I'm seeing people talk about them. This is a great, great platform. We were talking about the cryptocurrency stuff before the show. This is better than cryptocurrency for you guys on here because this is what you know. I'm trying to learn cryptocurrency and I'm struggling. But fortunately, You know about these football players. You know about these NBA players. You know if what direction they're trending. Right now might be a great time to buy Elijah Moore because he's down. This would be a perfect opportunity to scoop up some shares of a guy like that. And best of all, you can do that for free with the promo code Dynasty with your first deposit of $20 or more. Do it on the website, do it on the app, doesn't matter. But with the promo code Dynasty, you get a free share of any player with your first deposit of $20 or more. PredictionStrike.com.
Yeah, another reason to hit me up on Twitter. If you know about crypto and you got the ends, hit me up. I want to be rich too.
Wait, you are rich.
I want to be richer.
Richard.
Yeah. Dude, that's the one thing about being rich, named Rich, is you meet people like, hi, I'm rich. I'm like, oh, are you really? Or, oh, I wish I was rich. You're like, oh, yeah, I've only heard that joke 5 million times.
I got the prices wrong a lot.
You guys Cavs fans at all?
Cavs? Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yeah, I've seen them too.
Okay. Yeah. You seen the rookie?
Evan Mobley?
Yeah.
Yeah. Led the team in contested shots, 72.
NBA people are going nuts about him.
Really?
How good he's looked. Yeah.
Now, since LeBron left, because I'm a fair weather basketball fan.
I'm a total fair weather basketball fan.
Because of basketball,
okay.
I'm totally fair weather.
That's all right.
To the point where I had Cavs season tickets the whole time LeBron was here. I haven't really. I always follow the box score and see how the Cavs are doing. And I was real interested in Mobley this year, so I'm trying to follow him. And when I'm reading, when I'm seeing, he's playing pretty.
I bought a ton of his shares on Prediction Strike. That's what made me bring him
There you
up
go.
before
Nice.
the season.
Rich. Yeah,
They're
but
up
if you,
15%, baby.
yeah, anything to help me become more wealthy, please hit me up on Dynasty Rich. I could really use that. It would make sense. So I could be rich too.
There you go.
That's like that joke I heard today. Like, do you know 10 plus 10 and 11 plus 11 equal the same thing?
Huh? No, it doesn't.
All right, stop. Let's move on.
10 plus 10 and 11 plus 11 equal the same thing.
20 and 22?
Yeah, 20 and 22.
20 also.
Giggle. All right, give us your little shindig you got going on.
All
over.
right, let's do everyone's favorite game show as of tonight.
Buy or cry.
Buy or cry. I'm going to give you the name of a player, and you're going to tell me if you want to buy or if you just want to cry because their value is just all gone.
Is there no in between here?
Nope,
I was
just buy or
reading this,
cry.
I was like, where's the in between it? Like,
Okay, buy, cry, or whelmed. Those are your options.
okay.
It
I'm
comes full circle.
totally whelmed by this player.
They're bummed.
All right, buy or cry, Mr. Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill so far this season is averaging 17.2 points per game. Last year, when he was quarterback 7, he was averaging 21.9. Will you buy or cry?
I'm buying it. I'm buying it. He's starting to hit his groove right now. You see him do the Air Jordan into the end once he scored that. They're starting to click a little bit. I mean, obviously the new offensive coordinator this season started off a little bit slow. I feel like their pieces are finally getting back together and healthy. Julio was there. AJ Brown was there this past week, and
Upsetting the Chiefs.
Yeah, and they went in there, upset the Chiefs. They look good doing it. So me personally, I think their brighter days are to come here for Mr. Tannehill.
Yeah, versus the Chiefs, he was quarterback number 11 overall last week, which is pretty solid. Currently quarterback number 18 on the year. So this was like the first one of the gates where like, I'm just very whelmed. You know what I mean? Like, there's a dip to go out there and buy Tannehill. Like, okay, but it's you're only talking Superflex, really.
Only in Superflex, for sure.
But you know, the last 2 years have been pretty spoiled with Arthur Smither as quarterback 8 and quarterback number 7 overall. Quarterback 11 like this week, so they can find a groove there. That'd be pretty nice. Derrick Henry stole a touchdown pass from him, so it could have been a little bit higher this week as well. So for me, if I have Tannehill, like I'm just very whelmed. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay. Like I'm not sad by any means. Like because I understand these last couple of years have been a gift, right? Like getting quarterback 8 overall, like we knew this had to like level out at some point where he's gonna drop down to about quarterback 11, quarterback 12. 18's a little bit bigger of a dip than I would like, but I mean, I'm
a buy if you're getting him at QB 18 prices because I think he's going to be doing better. So let me explain, exactly what I meant by that.
No, and I think I would buy too, even at QB 15 prices. Sure. I would be willing to buy him as a mid-range QB2 because I think he's going to finish the year probably as a high-end QB2. So I think you're going to get a little boost on your investment there. Maybe the biggest buy or cry on the entire list comes in here as our second guy, Mr. Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson last year averaged 16.4 points per game. Mr. Quarterback proof himself. And
What is that?
What is happening?
Sarah Smith.
Why?
This is high quality production, folks.
What are we doing?
Rich's phone.
Allen Robinson. Broken hearted.
He's crying, clearly.
The song's called "Crying" by
Great,
Aerosmith. I know you're too
They're
young.
gonna copyright our YouTube video. There you go. Thanks.
Just edit that part out. That was Jeremy Smith.
All right. So Allen Robinson averaged 16.4 points per game last year. We always had talked about how he's quarterback proof. Didn't matter who he's playing with. Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, didn't matter. He was the guy. And this year he is not quarterback proof. He has dropped all the way down to 7.7 points per game. You're still playing this. What are you doing? We're doing a professional production here.
Slow dancing with myself.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
Someone hit
we're all
him.
crying, I think, after what Richard's doing here.
Tears of joy, cheers sadness.
But Allen Robinson, he is no longer quarterback proof.
He is not. Are you willing to buy him, or are you just going to cry, leave him alone, don't want to touch him?
Oh, me? I've always been a leave Allen Robinson alone type, so I'm definitely not going to go buy now. But clearly he's going to have some sort of rebound next year. So if you get him at an extreme value, he's definitely worth the purchase.
I think he's a good rebuild kind of buy, because I don't want him this season. I don't want to touch him this season. But he's on the franchise tag this year. He did not want to be here. He was, and there was a question whether he would even sign the franchise tag. Like, it was looking a little ugly for a second. Things kind of smoothed over a little bit. There's even an outside chance he could be traded. I don't know. So if I'm a contender, it's usually the opposite. If you're getting a 28-year-old receiver, usually it's because you're a contender. But I think this is actually a buy situation for a rebuild team, because you're going to be getting him for pennies on the dollar. You could probably get him for a second-round pick right now. And
You think so?
You might. I don't know. You might
that
be able
price
to.
tag, I'm buying all day.
And that's what I meant by like
Maybe 2 seconds? I don't know.
If you're getting that sort of deep discount, I'm in. If not, I don't know that I love his like long term. Is he 27 or 28?
I think he's 28 years old.
And then he's going to be changing teams. Who knows? You know,
It'll be the first time he did it.
it wouldn't be the first time, but who knows what kind of situation he's going to be in there. He's got nowhere to go really but up, though, right? Because, I mean, this is the worst situation.
7 points per game.
Yeah.
That's wildly bad.
He's 28.
He's 28. Okay. And
Called it.
He was thrown to like 4 times last he was targeted 4 times last week. So it's got to get better. He has a prorated, I think, salary of about $9 million. So it might be difficult for a trade at this point, because there's not a lot of teams out there with a need that have $9 million under the cap at this point.
Right.
So I wouldn't bank on it. I mean, stranger things have happened. We have 1 week until the trade deadline. I think next Tuesday will be the trade deadline. So I guess we'll find out. But I would imagine Allen Robinson for the rest of the season is just going to stink. And then you might even get a chance somewhere further down the line if somebody that has Allen Robinson on his team maybe needs somebody else. You might be able to get him even cheaper if you wait a little bit. But
Yeah, I went to look up some trades for him. I wasn't able to do it. Something locked me out or whatever. But regardless, let's move on to our next guy here. This one's kind of probably the most surprising one, if I had to say, of all the guys here. Darren Waller is on the buy or cry list. Darren Waller averaging 17.4 points per game last year, and this year only 13.8, so about a 4-point drop in points per game there. Then on top of that, he was injured this week. Is this an ultimate buy window, or are you just kind of leaving it alone and just crying to yourself?
this is a weird one for me, because obviously he came out the gates with that 19 target game in the first week, and it was all about Darren Waller, and we, I think, all assumed, hey, this is going to be, I mean, no one
the same from the past 2 years.
Yeah, no one assumes that he's going to get 19 every single week, but a big chunk was
10 targets. Yeah,
absolutely. But it's been 19 and then 7, 7, 7, 8, 5, and then last week he was injured and didn't play. So it has been odd usage. I'm not sure if they're just trying to get some other guys more involved, a la like a Henry Ruggs, and obviously Brian Edwards
And Hunter Renfrow got to get his.
Got to get Hunter Renfrow involved.
I mean, you mentioned he's averaging 13 points per game, but if you eliminate that big week one where you have the targets, he's actually tight end 12 on the year, and he's averaging 11.3 points per game since then. So if you just eliminate that game, he's actually down. Again, once you're down that quarterback 12 range, you're not in a great range.
You're in the Hunter Henry range. I think he's averaging a little over 10 points a game.
He's got 2 more points than Mo Alley Cox since week 2. 2 more points than Tyler Higbee. He's only got somebody who's been a part-time player, 6 more points than Ricky Seals-Jones. So it's been a huge disappointment. You're absolutely crying if you got Darren Waller because it's been a massive disappointment. You traded for a guy you expect to be tight end number 1 overall, to outbe even possibly Travis Kelce this year. You traded for somebody that you thought was going to dominate and give you the edge, and he just has not done it. And right now, new coach coming in, going to be a new staff. You mentioned the young wide receivers there with Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards. They have Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. Derek Carr's looked absolutely terrific over all season, to be honest with you. What the other game he completely, it was like 31 of 34 or something like that, like something gross. Like Derek Carr's looked fantastic. So I think Darren Waller will rebound. But I mean, again, this is a player that we're going in week 8, like rebound in week 9, week 10, week 11. I mean, yeah, that's great. But dude, like if you have Darren Waller, you have him because you're a championship caliber team. It's the only reason you have Darren Waller. Right. So, and what the problem is too, if you have Darren Waller, is you're probably most likely thinner at that position because you made moves and you have a good tight end, you're going to make a move because you have Darren Waller. That's the kind of player he is. He's the elite of the elite. So it's a massive cry because it's been a massive cry of disappointment. And he's hurting your team. These championship windows are only open so long and every year counts. So he's put a hindrance on that window from week 2 on being tight end number 12 overall. I mean, you literally could have won your waiver wire and picked up a guy like Mo Alley Cox or made a trade and done better. Noah Fant doing significantly better. Dalton Schultz doing significantly better. Mike Gesicki, my guy who I predicted as a top 6 Dynasty tight end this year, doing way better. Like, and if you tell me right now who could I have, Mike Gesicki or Darren Waller in Dynasty, that's a hard decision for me to make right now. Wow. You know, somebody's gonna be a 29-year-old tight end who, again, Darren Waller's awesome by any means.
Darren Waller is 29. He'll
29,
be 30 next year.
Or 26-year-old Mike Gesicki, who is uber athletic and has looked fantastic. I mean, we did a whole in-depth thing about Mike Gesicki this summer, like how much I know you liked him as well.
Absolutely.
And how much I loved Gesicki and how I think in my bold predictions, I don't know if he was in that show or not, like how I had him high him though. But if you ask me right now, like if I have Darren Waller or Mike Gesicki in Dynasty going forward, like I feel like I'd slightly lean Gesicki, which is kind of crazy, but it might be caught. You might say, hell, you're just living in your moment, living in the moment. But again, we're 8 weeks in this offense, and we have no idea what's coming here in the future with a new head coach or what's going to happen there. So I'm crying.
I'm still buying. I actually think this is an amazing buy window. Especially on tight end, there's just so few of them to go around. Even if 13.8 is what he is forever. Let's say he averages 13.8 for the rest of his career.
Great.
He's still a top 5 tight end.
Yes.
And I think it's worth 29 is not the youngest, obviously, but I still think he's got 2, 3, maybe even 4 years left.
I think that's his window.
I probably overblew it a little bit about there. Like, so give me Gesicki for sure. But like it is, I'm saying
it's closer than I want it to be.
It's really close with him and Gesicki right there. To be fair though, I moved Gesicki up to that second tier of tight ends. Like he's right in that mix up there.
One that I think is legitimately close. Would you rather Mark Andrews or Darren Waller?
I would rather have Mark Andrews.
That's really tough for me.
That one's a hard one, but I think Andrews has some years. So
he does. He's a year or two younger.
Too.
Yeah, I would go Andrews.
I think he's like 26,
27.
Yeah, he's 26 as well. He's averaging 15.8 points per game. Obviously, he had that one massive game which kind of bumped him up there too. But it's a good mix. I mean, we talked about Waller older, Travis Kelce older, but you have a good mix right now of Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, T.J. Hockenson, Mike Gesicki, Noah Fant. You could probably throw Dawson Knox in there, Dallas Goedert. There is a good, nice mix of young tight ends.
Don't you dare forget about Dalton Schultz again. Jeez, oh man, you just poo-poo him till he's just a doo-doo sandwich.
He's only 25.
Yep. All right, let's go on to our next buy or cry. Myles Gaskin, averaging 16.4 points per game last year. Another guy dropping about 4 points, a little over 4 points per game, down to 12.1. How are we feeling about the running back in Miami?
Same thing I felt out in January when the season was over. Like, if you have Myles Gaskin and you can get anything for him, please get him, because what do you expect from Myles Gaskin in 2021? A team that was clearly looking to try and get another running back. They want Javonte Williams. They got jumped by Denver Broncos for the fact they couldn't get Javonte. How much they probably actually have another win if they had Javonte Williams, honestly. So no, I have no feelings about. I don't cry because
you're whelmed.
Yeah,
you're whelmed with him. You don't care.
Yeah, he's a flex play bye-week filler, injury filler. I mean, somebody gets thrown in your lineup, but no better than J.D. McKissick.
Honestly, he was one of the guys I was considering this week as my sell of the week as a player that.
What kind of sandwich you want?
Well, right now, teams are desperate to get running backs.
They are.
Desperate to get running backs. If you got a guy that could be a flex play or even a running back too, even if it's just for the rest of the year, people will buy.
I got all this James Conner, and you got that 23 seconds in over there. Come on, baby.
Stephon Diggs is down a little bit this year, averaging 20.5 points per game last year in a career season with Josh Allen. This year's down a little bit, down to 15.9. Now, 15.9 is nothing to sneeze at. It's still a good total, but we're not at where we were last year. You buying this dip, or are you crying?
He's wide receiver 24 overall, so barely a wide receiver 2, which is a big disappointment. Guys like Christian Kirk are ahead of him. Brandon Cooks is ahead of him. Obviously, I'm not really too surprised. I mean, that Michael Pittman Jr. is doing really well, but he's ahead of him.
I love Michael Pittman Jr.
I don't know if there is a dip, though. I don't think I wouldn't guess Stephon Diggs. You know, he's wide receiver 24, has seen a dip. He's only 27 years old. He's still on a pass-first offense with Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. Emmanuel Sanders is kind of taking away a little bit of that this year. But even if he holds fast, he ends up being like wide receiver 18 in the year. I still think 2022 offers a huge, massive potential for Stephon Diggs, where maybe they finally get a running back in that field that kind of open that up a little bit more. And then Cole Beasley won't be on that team anymore. Maybe if they bring Emmanuel Sanders back, but for dynasty purposes, I'm very whelmed with Stephon Diggs.
I love how this was buyer crying. Whelmed has been the most popular response.
I'm whelmed.
I'm not buying.
Right?
I mean, I'm okay. I guess by your terms, I'm buying. Yes, I'm buying, but I don't think there's a price dip. So
you don't think there's any price dip on him going from where he was last year? Was he
2 first?
It was probably a 3 last year, don't you think?
Maybe.
So you're saying if there's a price dip you're buying, if it's exact same price, you'd rather hold?
I would just rather not buy, I guess. I mean, 2 first for Stephon Diggs. I'd be okay with paying 2 first for Stephon Diggs.
I do think he has better days ahead. Like you mentioned, Cole Beasley gone. I don't think they're going to re-sign Emmanuel Sanders. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But if he ends up being what he was last year on this team, he could definitely far outperform wide receiver 24 next year. And I'm guessing whoever has them on their team feels similarly, but they might not fully feel similarly. You know what I mean? Like they're like, I don't know. I see him at 24.
It's like a simile.
Yep, exactly. So maybe you get a slight discount if you can get him for 2 firsts. I say make that deal personally.
Yeah, and you might be able to, instead of trying to do it with draft picks, maybe pick a receiver that's ascending. Like, where would you guys be on Cooper Kupp versus Stephon Diggs? Who would you rather have? Because Cooper Kupp's played amazing this year.
Dude, Cooper Kupp is 1 year older than Stephon Diggs. And him and Matt Stafford, their rapport is like so symbiotic. It's so... I mean, dude, every time you're like, all right, Cooper Kupp.
They eat breakfast together.
Yeah.
Dude, you can't pass that up.
Well, last year, Cooper Kupp started off real hot, right? Mm-hmm. And then kind of slowed down. But then obviously Jared Goff's noodle arm kind of slowed down too. So maybe they had to do with it as well. But like, I mean,
it's a tough one.
I would rather just have Cooper Kupp because he's going to help me win this year.
True statement.
I'll need to think more
for
about
this
that.
year. But for Dynasty, I'd still rather have Stephon Diggs.
2 guys left here. Robert Tonyan. I still like Tonyan better, though.
It's Tonyan.
I know, but I like that one better. I just said it. Averaging 11 points per game last year. We talked about the inflated touchdown numbers a little bit this offseason. Down to 6.1 points per game. And that was even saved a little bit because he did get a touchdown this week. It was looking even more bleak before that. Do you buy right now on good old Bobby, or are we just going to cry?
The Tunyon's got less points than George Kittle. I don't remember the last time I saw George Kittle on the field. Hell no, I ain't buying Bubby Tunyon.
I'm crying too, man.
Yeah, if you have them, you're stuck with them.
It sucks.
You ain't selling them. I mean, what are you gonna get?
Should have sold him at the end of last year.
Woulda, coulda, and you're right. It was all touchdown regressions. You guys, we talked about in the pod before. Like I was like, oh, I still like Bobby, and you're like, well, look at all these touchdowns, and he only had 400 something receiving yards. It's not really looking good. They finished this high, and I'm like, yeah, but there's no number 2. It's gonna be Bubby Tunyon. Oh no, I got tight end number. What was that? Where were you at, Bubby? Tight end number 23.
Bubby.
The tight end number 23 on my team, which is right behind George Kittle, right in front of.
Played 3 games.
He's literally got one. He doesn't even. He has 0.8 points more than Max Williams.
Wow, that's a broken leg.
That's a bummer.
I thought I couldn't be more sad about Robert Tunyon, and I just read that he has 0.8 more points than Max Williams.
All right, last but not least, Miles Sanders, the darling of everyone's eye. 14.4 points per game last year, which was considered a little bit of a down year in and of itself. It's down again to 9 points per game. Now he's got the ankle injury, so we're expecting another week, 2 weeks, maybe even 3. Do you buy this dip, or is it's Philly and he doesn't look good, I'm out?
I want nothing to do with him.
Philly is a dumpster fire.
It's a dumpster fire of a situation for sure. I'm not buying Miles Sanders. I'm crying
Too
my
risky.
way.
Crying away.
I'm crying away that I didn't sell him 2 years ago when I had the opportunity.
And this is real stupid. Like Heinz, like, oh, we told you, because we're also a team that's like, hey, take Devontae Smith over Jamar Chase. But we said, like, when Miles Sanders hit that, same thing we said about Cam Akers this year before it happened. Like when these running backs hit that window where
They haven't proven that much, but now they're a top 10 type guy.
First round startup pedigree. Without proving it, you got to sell. And this is why. It's too volatile of the position. You never know what's going to happen. It's got to be schemed. They got to be used. If you're not used, you definitely can't score fantasy points. I love Miles Sanders' talent coming out. I thought he was a fantastic running back coming out of Penn State. I loved his tape. I loved everything about him. But the window there was a sell. You missed it. You're stuck with them. You're getting nothing. You got a running back 3 at best, and things don't look like they're getting better anytime soon. Your only hope is that they change the whole system, or they goes to a different team and he can rebound there. But still, you're still sitting with him then for another year or 2 in this. It's just a giant cry.
I'm going to cry myself to sleep with him. That's it. Yep.
All right. Well, that's the show.
That's the show. That's DynastyNerds.com and the podcast. Make sure you check out DynastyNerds.com for all your Dynasty needs to get all that good Dynasty intake. It was a great Dynasty summer, but now we're entering Dynasty fall/winter. And everybody needs a little bit more warmth and a little bit more cuddle time. And that's what we're here to do at DynastyNerds.com. We're here to embrace you, hold you in our arms, and give you all the Dynasty information that you need to dominate your fantasy football leagues, whether it be rankings, trade finders, trade calculators, Dynasty GM league analyzers, the Dynasty Nerds film room, so you're getting the best rookie information possible. It's all here at DynastyNerds.com. Check us out. Check out our YouTube channel. Give us a rating and review on the podcast. Follow us on Twitter. Do all those things that everybody in social media asks you to do, because we want you to do them too. Why? Because, I don't know. We appreciate it, though. And we'll be back next week talking more Dynasty Fantasy Football.
Injuries. Adios.